Okay, let's see. This is the Daniel Davis deep dive. This is somebody that I watch quite often. I do enjoy his take on the state of affairs inside of the world. He's talking about a couple of things. I know it has Iran inside the title, but he's talking about a couple of things.
What the hell's going on with the Chinese military? Xi Jinping
I'm listening.
firing all these
BRB.
top generals. Is there something we should read into this, or does this represent sort of any concern in your eyes, Daniel Davis?
Well, it's gotten a lot of press lately just because it was the number one guy that was taken out and somebody who was really close to Xi Jinping. But this is the 50th general that he's taken out in number. I think it's 4 or 5 years over the
50 generals in 4 or 5 years. It almost seemed like a purge, huh?
past, and you could take it that it's actually at face value, which is the Chinese are just deadly serious about corruption, and nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the standards. Not even a guy that with close ties to Xi Jinping. It's also possible that it's just him trying to call out some of the older guys because this guy had physical combat experience during the Civil War, going back to the 1949 period, and he's just like looking to get some newer blood in there, and that could have been the reason too, or even a combination of them. But I don't see anything because I've heard a lot of people say, well, maybe this is about there was a creeping coup that was coming in, or Xi Jinping is not clear, who he can be loyal to. I doubt that there's any chance of loyalty problems with somebody that's been with him that long, because there's no real reason for it to be.
And that's honestly what I was thinking. Like, could it possibly be maybe this general is going against certain policies that's being pushed by the current government? It don't make no sense for somebody to be. It don't make no sense. Just like what he said, for somebody to have such a good relationship with you, why would there be? Why would he be trying to go against, the current Chinese government? Also, if they are such good friends, such a close relationship, and there's a thing about trying to get in new blood, new vigor, and stuff like that. Because I mean, like you were alive you were actually fighting in combat during the 1940s in the Chinese Civil War, or whatever. Um, why send him to jail though? Just because you want new blood in, that don't make no sense either. You send him to jail. Why not just fire him? You think you'll just be able to fire him, right? But who knows? It could be a number of things.
Just logically speaking. So I rather think it's that he's looking to either strengthen his national defense security, but with Chinese, you're just left to read the tea leaves, so to speak, because it's a very very close society. So that's the best I can come up with because I don't see any other incidental information that would or evidence that would make me think that there was something about regime stability that was at stake.
Okay, and clearly that's the direction I was going because it is such a closed society. We figure that he more than anybody would know everything that's going on around him to the extent he sensed a coup. That would be a logical reaction to it, but you're suggesting right now that does not appear to be the case.
And
Fair
there
enough.
was lots of rumors also that this guy had been selling nuclear secrets to the United States, and that just doesn't pass the common sense test to me. Why would a guy that's been that long in his position, what would he possibly benefit from selling secrets to the United States at the risk of being executed if he got caught? So
Facts.
I'm not buying that one, but that is one of the things that's out there.
All right, fair enough. Let's pivot over to how about the latest in Russia and Ukraine? It sounds to me like they're endeavoring to re-engage with settlement talks. The same story we hear almost every week. But I did notice, I believe Zelensky was the one that was calling for at least a ceasefire insofar as bombing electricity generation plants. People in Ukraine are suffering. I mean, how do you deal with wintertime in Ukraine when you don't have energy? I guess half the people in the capital have already fled, 500,000 people or so. But I'm sorry, but isn't it a major component of warfare that you go after electricity because that helps you win the war? I can't imagine Russia buying into that. But more broadly speaking, do you see any possible settlement here? And it is going to require Zelensky to give up land.
It is getting more and more dicey for the Ukraine side. There are meetings scheduled tomorrow in Abu Dhabi between the United States, Ukraine, and Russia to try and come up to a settlement. The Russians have made very clear that this is not a negotiation session. This is the Russians saying reiterating this is our requirement. It's the same things from June 2024. They haven't changed. They haven't changed since Anchorage, Alaska, which is the territorial submission of the four regions. It's
I did a video
demilitarization,
on it.
denazification, according to their terminology, or we'll just keep fighting. And
I did a video on it right there. The blackout and energy crisis in Ukraine. Let's get back to this.
you talk about the population. I just spoke with somebody who has some experience in the region here just very recently, and they said that of the six major cities inside of Ukraine, only one of them, Lviv, is basically livable. All the electric generation has been knocked out to such a degree that in the capital, only 4 hours per day have electricity. Many areas have no heat at all, not any hours per the day. As you said, 500,000 people have left the city already. Overnight, there was yet another one. Almost 500 aerial vehicles were fired. This one hit Kiev, the Dnipro, especially in the south. It was a massive shot. Knocked out 18 Iskander missiles, which is a huge expense, which shows Russia is really deadly serious about knocking out the electric generation, which prevents Ukraine from having creating jobs, creating war material, and of course, just keeping the population fed. And there is serious problems going on now throughout the country. It used to just be people up close to the front had to worry about it in Kiev, and that some of these other ones were kind of isolated. But those days are over, and I think that's part of Russia's plan.
Part of Russia's plan, I guess.
Here goes another thing. Can Ukraine beat Russia on their own without Western help? There's that guy inside of NATO basically. He's like I think the Secretary General of NATO. He said something along the lines of, "Can European countries defend themselves without the United States?" He said no, they can't. I don't remember if he necessarily said was it defend themselves. You know, it was something along the lines of defending themselves, or can they survive without support from the United States? The Secretary General of NATO said no, they cannot. I imagine that more than likely Ukraine cannot defend itself without the United States. Without the United States, not necessarily Europe. What Zelensky wants is security guarantees from the United States of America. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Why should American soldiers risk their lives for Ukraine? I don't know if I believe the whole thing of Russia, some type of he's the new Hitler. He's he's about to march through Europe and take it all, and then he'll be coming through the Atlantic for the United States. I just don't believe that. Can Ukraine defeat Russia on their own? If not, you know, what is it? Land swaps might need to happen. He said that 500,000 people left the city of Kiev. They also say that more than a million. They got like more than a million AWOL soldiers. I saw this other video, and I also made another video on that they did like some type of counter attack in Ukraine. And Ukraine lost 85,000 soldiers to take back 7 miles of land. How is that worth it? How is that worth it? You either got a game plan going forward or you don't. Maybe it's time to cut your losses. You're just losing land. You're you're hemorrhaging. What is it called? It's like the Ukrainian men are going to the meat grinder right now. Can they win? Can they have like a turn on things without Western support? Now, if Europe wants to help them, I mean, like, hey, that's Europe can do whatever they want to do. Can they do it without the United States?
winning the conflict, Daniel Davis. I mean, stating the obvious, if we were all rooting for Russia, we would all be going, "Yay, they're winning the war. These are inroads in their fight against Ukraine." I mean, it's clear this is something you've been saying for the last several years on this program, Daniel Davis.
And listen,
Russia
Brian,
has.
it's anguishing to watch this unfold because there is no even theoretical path for Ukraine to stop what Russia's doing and reverse it to such that you could say, well, if you just keep holding out a little longer, things can go. There are no such factors. And yet I heard as recently as just 2 days ago, European leaders are still talking about they're going to force Kaya Kallas, no kidding, we're going to force Russia into capitulation, into submission, so that we'll get the negotiated terms that we want. Meanwhile, cities are going without heat, people are dying every day, and the Russians keep moving to the west. It is just anguishing to watch.
Well, I'm sure Vladimir Putin and other Russians are as puzzled as I am. How do they hope to accomplish that goal if they haven't been able to do it for the last several years since Russia invaded?
Insane.
What's changed now? They're going to cause Vladimir Putin to capitulate on anything. Daniel?
Right, and the only thing that has changed is that now then the number of AWOL troops from Ukraine
There we go.
continues to grow. It's now somewhere around 200,000 AWOL.
Okay, I said a million. When you add up the total of AWOL, desertions, people dead, I think it goes up to a million. I think that's where I got the million from.
There are legal actions against 2 million Ukrainian men for refusing to show up and for
There
running
we
and
go.
trying to flee. 2 million. And so what that tells you is on top of the daily casualties that's being inflicted across the front, they don't have.
They don't want to die for nothing. Is that a wrong thing? Is that a wrong thing? I mean, like, I think it's admirable to fight and defend your country. But if there's no chance of you winning, why just send the men to their certain death? That ain't what a good leader does to me.
Anywhere near enough to even replace losses. And then what they do get is just paltry capabilities because they don't have time to train them. And you're talking about it's just a slower death. And that slowness is actually starting to accelerate.
Well, reminded the comments of Marco Rubio insofar as NATO. NATO needs to step up to the plate to start being able to defend themselves. And I suppose if NATO was as strong as, for example, say the United States collectively or whatever, if they had militaries, if they had military hardware, they might have stepped up and have provided a defense. Meanwhile, they just keep talking about doing it, looking to the United States to provide all the weaponry. Sorry, we don't have it either. That's one of the reasons why we need you to step up and rebuild your militaries.
And listen, it's going to take decades. I mean, at least a decade of sustained investment, because I mean, throughout the course of this war, it's just been self-evident that across the West, not just NATO, but also the United States, we have maxed out all we can give. President Trump talks a lot about we're selling weapons to NATO. Through NATO to Ukraine, but the fact is we don't have that much more to give, and that's one of the reasons why they're continuing to lose across the board on the front because they don't have the number of missiles, they don't have the number of drones, they don't have the number of armored vehicles, etc. They don't have any of the things that you need just to sustain daily operations, and we don't have it to give or sell. And that's another one of the reasons why I say seriously, what the hell is wrong with the senior leaders in the West, especially in Europe, that can't just come to obvious common sense logic and say, hey, we wanted this to happen this way. We wanted Russia to lose. It didn't work out. Let's just, cap this thing off before it gets even worse. And it can get worse. But instead, we keep going down a path of blind, ignoring the reality.
Well, and learn a.
It's because some of their political careers are on the line. A lot of them leaders, they staked everything on Ukraine turning the tide, pushing Russia back, defeating Russia. Also, they want the United States to go inside there. I think what a lot of these individuals want to do, they want American troops boots on the ground. That's what they want. I think they want boots on the ground in Ukraine, boots on the ground in Iran. But why should American soldiers? Why should the American people risk their lives, their sons, daughters, friends, husbands, wives, for what? Now, if you're gonna give us the land, you're gonna let us take it all, and you become a territory, maybe then. But I mean, like sometimes I just be talking. Sometimes I just be talking. I don't think that. No, I think the United States done enough. I think the United States has done enough. Can you defeat Russia by yourself? If you can't, what's the point of just sending those men out there to their certain death?
A lesson. You can't help because you can't help. I mean, you don't have the resources. So fix the problem that prevents you from helping. Briefly, looks like the U.S. and Iran may be meeting for talks in Turkey. We got a whole carrier group over there, Daniel Davis. How close are we to war with Iran? I know you say it's a terrible idea to go down that road, and I agree with you, but where are we in the talks? You think they're going to bear fruit?
There is a really strange dynamic going on. Whereas yesterday in the Oval Office, when the press gaggle was in there, President Trump was asked, where are we on this? And he says, well, we have this flotilla there, but we're talking with Iran, and maybe we can come up with a deal. I hope so. I'd prefer it to work out that way, et cetera. Meanwhile, over on Fox News, right about the same time, or maybe just a little afterward, you had Larry Kudlow and Jack Keane, who were on the Kudlow show, lamenting about the possibility of a negotiated settlement. They were begging President Trump, don't have a negotiated settlement. We can only destroy the regime. That's all we can have. Lindsey Graham literally threw down a gauntlet to Trump on Sunday, on Fox News Sunday, and said, you can either be Reagan or you can be Obama. Like the worst pejorative he can talk.
Lindsey Graham is a compromised individual. He's one of the compromised senators. He does what he's told. He's the good boy. Whatever they have on him, I I think somebody's blackmailing that dude, Lindsey Graham. I think they must have something crazy on him. I might do a video. Who's blackmailing Lindsey Graham and what do they have on him? It's obvious. It's obvious.
Out there. So you got these guys that are, lobbying hard in public and in private for Trump to not have negotiations, but to destroy the regime. But we can go down that path here. But that's just really odd that the president is talking about negotiations and you have his best allies arguing against it.
Well, pursuant to what authority would Donald Trump be able to unilaterally enter into a theater of combat and war with a country against whom we have no declaration of war, Daniel Davis?
There's none. And it's just as black and white as it sounds coming out of your mouth. There is none. And these people that I just mentioned there, the Lindsey Grahams, et cetera, they don't care about that. No one cares about it anymore. We have now set a standard that the Constitution, Articles 1 and 2, no longer apply. The 1973 War Powers Act no longer applies. There are no limits on President Trump. He can literally do whatever he wants here. And I mean, Republican, Democrats, nobody's going to stand up and stop him. And that's a dangerous thing for our republic. I'll just tell you about that.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on making the most craveable chicken finger meals, getting them.
Okay, that's basically the end of it. I like watching a lot of these videos by Daniel Davis just because of the people he has on. I think they're insightful. I think he tells a lot of good things about what's going on in the world today. Stay informed. I think he knows what he's talking about. And even the people that he has on, like Colonel Douglas, Jeffrey Sachs, John Mersheimer, people all over the world. But you guys get inside the country below. Let me think about this. I'll see you on the next one.